What the fuck?
Hello and welcome to Taste Like Tea, a podcast in which I talk about myself. My name is Theo. Don't call me Ted. I am here today with another episode of podcast, believe it or not. I am sitting in the backseat of my car. I am on the other side now because there's a garbage bag where I was sitting last time. But because I have presets in my driver's seat, I just pushed it as far up as possible, and I have so much leg room right now. It's great. If I ever have to spend long periods of time in the car, this is probably where I'm going to be doing it from now on. I might even make my second preset this forward seat position, and whenever I want to lay down in the car, I'll just, lay the seat back. Because I do that a lot. I do that daily. I sleep in my car at least for 45 minutes a day. It's a thing. The one thing is my rear view mirror is very much facing me, and I haven't looked at my face in a long time. At least not in this full frame. And it's a shame. My mullet shows. I have a mullet, by the way. It's not the proudest thing I have. I'm not showing it to everybody, but I just wanted my sides cut shorter because my hair is so goddamn big. I just needed to narrow it down a bit, but it turns out when you narrow down my hair on the sides, it turns into a mullet. Especially if your partner intentionally cuts the front a little shorter. Yeah, it was a surprise to me too. But I pull it off, believe it or not. What am I talking about today? Well, probably some films. I am a person that talks about films. I'm an individual with opinions, and I watch a lot of films. I watch a film a day. I feel like I should go through what I do on these episodes maybe every time I start. Because maybe not everyone is like me where they listen to the first episode and run through it in chronological order. Hypothetically, someone could just press play on the newest episode, and other than the first couple, I don't think I ever really describe what I do. So I talk about films primarily, but it's mostly about me. I am me, and I have opinions, and I also have ADHD, so I don't keep those thought processes very long. I guarantee that over the course of just the few episodes I have existing already, the 24 or so, I probably have already contradicted myself a bunch of times. But as Mick Garris says, humans are contradictory creatures, and as much as I hate doing things I denounce, or just doing the opposite, or just proving myself a hypocrite, it upsets me. But Mick Garris and his wise words are what I try to focus on when I'm in a situation like that, because humans are flawed creatures. We exist, and there's nothing you can really do about it. I forgot what I was talking about. So, see, as I started this, I'm like, should I not do a what I watched? But I'm doing a what I watched. I'm sticking with it. I was going to talk about Titus Andronicus because I just finished reading the play, and I haven't gotten a chance to talk about the film yet, but I feel like I might need to be a little bit more prepared for that. Maybe I'll go through the play one more time, or maybe I'll watch the film one more time. I just feel like I'm not prepared to talk about a Shakespeare, especially a Shakespeare I like, because that's a first for me. I've never been like, oh hell yeah, Shakespeare. It's usually going like, oh okay, that makes sense. Or the curveballs, like She's the Man is a Shakespeare story somehow. I don't know which one. I never bothered to check. Does he have a one where a girl dresses up as a boy and then a boy falls in love with him and then gets mad when she's a girl? Like, is Mulan a thing that Shakespeare wrote? I wonder. Anythingbutted@gmail.com if you want to reach out to me. I'm a person that exists, and presumably you are too. I mean, at one point my RSS page was saying that 50% of my downloads were bots, so that's fun. But it also, I listen to my own episodes, and not that I do it for numbers, but like my listen didn't actually show up on. So, the stats are irrelevant, and I have an addiction to them, even though I know they're inaccurate and problematic. Anythingbutted@gmail.com if you want to tell me about it. I don't know what that is, but you could. It's a thing you could do, and it's a thing I can do is respond to you or whatever. Human interaction is important, I think. So, what am I going to be talking about? Films. I'm going to be trying to talk about up to 4 films. I'll probably end up doing less because I jib-jab too much. And if I get to 4 and I have time, I'll do a 5th. I doubt it, though. Looking at it, though, it's looking like I'm a little indecisive of what I want to talk about, because there's actually a lot that I watched last week. It wasn't like a record number. I think I only watched like 16 or 17 films last week, which, I mean, still more than 1 a day on average. It's more than 2 a day on average. But they were all mostly new films that I watched. Not like new in like 2026, but new to me. As I look at that, there are 4 rewatches just on my stagnant screen at the moment. 5. That's great. The ones I'm going to be talking about today, though, are first-time watches. As I stare at my diary, I wonder if I should really start with it, but I'm going to start with it. 2024's Blink Twice. A psychological thriller horror film about the Epstein files, I guess. It's... Am I going to talk about this? Yeah, I guess so. The thing is, so I didn't love it, right? It was a good film. I didn't think it was that amazing. It was one of those, like, once you're kind of told what's happening, it's not really as interesting. Most of the interest comes from not knowing what the hell is going on, and the more you know, the less it matters, because it all kind of, like, yeah, it comes back to, like, it's about, so, yeah, it's a film about, like, power roles, and, willing to do things under pressure, and it's not really about that, though. So the film opens, and I talk about this in my review way too much, but I was stuck on it. I couldn't stop thinking about it in a bad way. But the film opens with a trigger warning, which, I mean, I understand trigger warnings. I understand the reason they exist. the inclusion of it in this film, I think, made it worse. I think including the trigger warning was a bad idea. I understand why. Because rape and drugging people and suppressing trauma intentionally is fucked. It's a fucked up premise. But when I'm watching a rated R film, I'm expecting, not like expecting, but like I'm not surprised by fucked up shit. So like I went into it going, yeah, it's probably just a psychological thriller, and I didn't know anything about it, honestly, other than Channing Tatum was in it. But it became really clear really quickly what was going on. And I think it has something to do with that opening title card, the trigger warning, because I mean the film is rated R, right? Shouldn't, and this is again what I say in my review, like the film is rated R, shouldn't that be the trigger warning in itself? Like, why bother? Like, what's the point of it? Maybe it's like a Texas Chainsaw Massacre thing where it's trying to like sell the legitimacy of it, where the opening text crawl of Texas Chainsaw Massacre basically implies that it's a real story, but it never explicitly says it's a real story, and that ambiguity adds a layer of fear to it because it feels real enough, but it's still over the top batshit crazy at the same time that it couldn't be real. But that opening crawl with the fucking skeleton, cut to a skeleton in a graveyard, like that's a lot more real than saying, hey, this is a scary movie. I'm exaggerating when I say it, but they say the words like, this is a film about power, and if you're uncomfortable with power roles or whatever, then you should probably not watch it. I think they also mentioned something about like emotional instability or something along those lines. Basically, they're just like warning you that you might have a panic attack from watching it, and just like The Last House on the Left, at least as a modern audience for Last House on the Left, the tagline, tell yourself it's just a movie, just a movie, just a movie, it doesn't work. No, that's a bad comparison. I just watched Last House on the Left last night, so it's just kind of fresh in my head. But what is it? So the film follows this woman. She is obsessed with Channing Tatum. Channing Tatum's character in the film, which is basically just a more serious Channing Tatum. She's like desperately parasocially in love with him, and he invites her to a private island to do drugs and have fun. And that's how the film is set up. Then from there, it's just her and a bunch of random women who are brought to an island to be Epsteined or P. Diddy'd or whatever you want to call it. Rich people doing rich people things, as in abusing poor people. And except that the twist in this film is that there's a drug that makes you forget about it. And it would have been a little bit of a harder hitting thing if there wasn't an entire conversation where Channing Tatum was like, yeah, but wouldn't it be great to forget? And what's her name, the main character, says something along the lines of, I would pay to forget. Basically just like, hey, yeah, I'm not a fan of trauma and bad experiences. I would much rather just only remember good things. And then that's what the film is this woman only remembering good things, except the physical trauma and the time jump gaps between things starts to become obvious to her. And then the whole film is basically just kind of her coming to realize that she and all the women that were blindly brought there are being horribly abused. And there's a very specific flashback memory that comes back to everybody, where it's just like it's just a big room of rape. The whole house is a rape house, and it's exactly what it sounds like. And I think a big thing about why I'm not a fan of this kind of film, maybe not this kind of film, but maybe this film in particular, has something to do with my receptibility to A, taking drugs with strangers, and B, taking drugs when I'm in a place I'm unaware of and not knowing when I can go home. I have done, I've smoked weed outside of the house, and I've been not sober, not at home. But the thing about those situations is I'm around people I know and trust, at least for the most part, trust enough to not fucking rape me, at least, but this woman is just starstruck and says, "No, I'm not gonna consider anything about doing drugs in front of strangers. I'm just, I'm here to hang out with Channing Tatum. Maybe he'll kiss me or whatever." I don't know what her actual goals are, because partying with Channing Tatum when you have a crush on him is probably more torturous than it is to just not, to just think about it. Because now you're within inches and people are talking. So she uncovers her trauma, convinces everyone else to uncover their trauma, and that's kind of it. The ending is a little unsatisfying for me because the thing about the film is that it's all about these rich men, drugging these poor women. And I'm using poor very specifically just because they're not filthy rich. They're not necessarily all poor. I think they're actually all pretty well off. It's just, poor in comparison. But they... these rich people are drugging poor people and then raping them when they're drugged. And their moral okayness with it is that they give them a drug that makes them forget and think that they've only had fun. So morally it's okay, because there's no negative feelings going around. So the ending... Right, so the ending has the victim perpetuating this violence. Maybe not on the same level, I guess that's one way to consider why it's morally okay to do it. She's not raping people with the drug, but she still ends up using it, and it gives me an unease, because you just spent the entire film realizing that it's important to know that you were traumatized, it's important to confront your trauma, and it's important to not be controlled and drugged by people to avoid that trauma. There's probably another level to it too, but so when she decides, oh yeah, I'm just gonna, the big, it's not even a twist, but the big flip at the end is oh, she's in charge now, and Channing Tatum is the drugged up victim here. But that's kind of not cool, because revenge, cool, take the power over him or whatever, but why do you, like, wouldn't it be more satisfying for this man to be tortured with his own trauma that he spent his entire life covering up? He talks about how he doesn't even remember being abused by his parents. Imagine if all of that came back at once. That would be torture. That would suck. So, like, wouldn't it make more sense to inflict resolution on him rather than to just perpetuate the problem? I don't know. Although I wasn't too into the film to begin with, because, like, I can't say I'm not interested in it, because, like, I did scroll through the Epstein files. I read about 200 pages of that shit. Just out of curiosity, because I was bored at work one day, but it's... You know, maybe it's like Mickey 17 or any of the Bong Joon-ho films. Like, maybe it's too on the nose with current events that I'm almost exhausted by just the idea of watching it. Like, Mickey 17 was basically just an anti-Trump film. I'm not going to get into that. But Snowpiercer, another Bong Joon-ho film that came out 10 years ago, hits. It goes hard because I think we're outside of the problem enough, or maybe not outside the problem, but I think we're far past the film depicting current events that it can be looked back on with a little bit more context. And I think that's exactly what Mickey 17 needs. It needs a decade to age so that it's not just Mark Ruffalo doing a really bad Trump impression, but it's actually, like, you know, a comment on society in some way. And that's the same that goes here, or at least I think that's going to be the same that goes here. I bet if I watch this in 10 years, I'll be like, damn, that's fucked. I can't believe we went through this. Assuming went through, it's in the past. I mean, going by the ending of the film, it's going to perpetuate and never stop. I mean, that's rich people to begin with, but it's a good film. It's aesthetically pleasing. It's shot really well. It's suspenseful. Like, it gave me that, like, uncomfortable stomach ache that is very appreciated when you're watching a psychological thriller. Like, it has good things about it. It's not just style and lack of substance. Like, it's got stuff going for it, but between the ending and just, like, if you really wanted to, you can twist this into just don't do drugs. Like, it's kind of just like an anti-drug kind of film in a way. I mean, it's kind of anti-drug in the way of, like, you're giving away your power by giving away your cohesive thoughts and what's the word for motor skills? That's not motor skills. Anyway, I wasn't a fan. It was fine. Whatever. I'm going to move on, though. I think that was a decent amount. Talked about Blink twice. I'm trying not to stick to I'm not trying to stick too long on each film, and I'm just going to keep going, yeah, that's about it, and I'm not going to do that. So, a couple days later, the next day, actually, I watched, and again, this is a quote-unquote modern what I watched, so it's not going to be me going in chronological order. I am picking a select amount of films, a select few films to talk about, and I'm going to be doing them in the order I watched them. Like, I'm not going to jump to, like, Sunday and then Tuesday and then Friday. Like, I'm doing in order, you know, if I were to skip things in between. So, the next thing I watched is John Carpenter's first feature film, Dark Star. And I would like to call this Dan O'Bannon the movie, because as much as this is a John Carpenter film, and it's awesome that this is his first feature film, and it's solid. It's made well. It uses miniatures in a really clever way. Maybe not clever, but in a way that works. Like, this is a low budget film through and through. It's almost a single location film, if it wasn't for there being multiple rooms and a few larger sets. It's basically a one location film, and it's slow. I don't want to say uneventful, but the events are not very extravagant. But what is Dark Star? Dark Star is Dan O'Bannon's proto-Alien. If you don't know who Dan O'Bannon is, he wrote Alien. He also wrote Total Recall, but that's not relevant. I just think that's really cool. But Dan O'Bannon wrote Alien, and this came out 5 years before Alien. And it's very, very low budget. The big joke, the reason people want to watch this, like for the laugh, is the aliens, plural. I don't know if there's more than one. I'm pretty sure there's only one. But that alien is just a large beach ball with feet on it. And that's the level of special effects we're working with here. We got miniatures to build the space station to appear to be something actually good, and not actually good, but like more than just like someone's bedroom converted into a spaceship. And then the set itself, where like the control room is solid. I think I couldn't recognize any of the devices they were blooping around on. But what is it about? See, that's the weird thing, is I thought since it was like a proto-alien that it was going to be like about the alien. But it's actually kind of Dan O'Bannon doing like a 2001 Space Odyssey kind of thing. Like he watched Kubrick's A Space Odyssey, and he just hadn't stopped thinking about it, and he had to write something about it, because there's so much of this film that is just repurposed 2001 A Space Odyssey, specifically the space part. My favorite part of A Space Odyssey is actually the opening with the apes discovering violence. And then the obelisk showing up in the middle. Like, that shit's fucking rad. But, I mean, the rest of it's cool, too. I like it all still. But, did you know that movie's rated G? Or PG? 2001? Like, it's about a killer robot and, like, the history of humanity and the future and whatever. But Dark Star... What was I talking about? Dark Star isn't that great. It surprises me. I need to actually see what the next film after that was for John Carpenter, because there's no way someone watched that and went like, this guy is going somewhere. Because like I said, it has some Carpenter style, but it's really just Dan O'Bannon the movie. It's written by him. The set design is by him. Like, almost everything that John Carpenter didn't do, which he basically just directed and composed it and maybe co-wrote it, which I hypothesized that as for Dan O'Bannon seeing A Space Odyssey and going, that's fucking awesome, he was probably stoned or tripping out with John Carpenter when he did that. And they were both like, whoa! Because that's the kind of guy John Carpenter is, and considering this was his first film with Dan O'Bannon, I'm assuming they're close. It's a lot of assumptions being made, but that's what I'm getting at. But yeah, so it's just a ship that's 20 light years away. So like it's literally in the middle of nowhere, and there's an alien on the ship that's kind of like the mascot, and they just have to maintain their ship until they find a planet that's inhabitable. I think that's what they're doing. Like, why else would you send people that far out if you're probably looking for a place to inhabit, right? But 20 light years away, or 18 or whatever, and their boss is on Earth. Like, they don't necessarily need to do anything, because who's going to tell them what to do? They are of their own choice. I mean, they're stuck in there, but they are of their own choice choosing to do work or choosing not to do work. And the fact that they have a boss or that they have a job to do is not of their concern. If they want to maintain the ship and keep it going, sure. If not, that's up to them. But that's kind of what the film is. It's kind of like the tasks from Among Us, put into a movie. So, like, yeah, the stakes are high. Like, an alarm will go off and be like, warning, some danger is happening, and you would have to go fix that danger. Backtracking a few seconds, John Carpenter films almost always remind me of video games in some way, shape, or form. Not always the same video game. Very similar in style, usually, though. I feel like I resonate a lot of first-person shooters with things that John Carpenter has made. But, and there's actual video games based off the John Carpenter films, too, so that doesn't help either, like The Thing. But, I got a lot of System Shock vibes from this film. The ship just looked, like, very much similar. The plot is kind of similar. It's kind of like if System Shock was doing a 2001, or 2001 was trying to be System Shock. Like, it's a little bit in between the two, because it's about an evil AI that's trying to do some evilness. But just like, at least my small experience with System Shock, because I'll be honest, I am really bad at System Shock. I've played very little, because every time I get far enough to actually start doing things, I start realizing just how little I'm prepared for doing those things. Such as what am I talking about? Fuck. System Shock. Yeah, but yeah, so I would always do hacking stuff, because there's so much technology in that, and the goals are similar to System Shock for me too, because it's kind of just like, hey, shit's going down, you might want to go press a button on the other side of the ship, or else you might die. And then you press that button after you get to the other side of the ship, and they go, hey, there's a couple of problems somewhere else in the ship. You should probably go over there and press a button or two. And that's what you do. You go over there and you press a button or two, and then, warning, more shit is going down. That's kind of how I see the film, and that's kind of how if you want to, I know BioShock way more, and I know that's kind of just an underwater version of System Shock, so I guess that BioShock is the same thing. It's the whole game is getting from one place to the other. Everything that happens in between and everything that you're actually doing is very minuscule. Dead Space 2, I think. Anything with an engineer and a ship. If you have a tool, you're alone, and you're being guided through by somebody, you're probably just there to press a couple of buttons and not die by the things that don't want you pressing the buttons. But what else is there? That's just it. It's kind of like, it's a really simple film. I really genuinely think that Dan O'Bannon wishes he was in space. Just going off of he's in it, by the way. He stars in this film, Dan O'Bannon, and he plays the guy who likes to be alone. So they're in a spaceship. It's 3 or 4 dudes. And even that's too much for him. So he has to go escape to a smaller, emptier room just to be even more alone. And that's where I think a lot of Dan O'Bannon's appeal to space comes from, is its isolation, not in a scary way, but in a comforting way. And I kind of agree. You know, like, I don't know how I do in a spaceship because of, like, limited space and, lack of probably video games, or maybe, I don't know. I mean, SSDs exist, but I'm pretty sure I would also love to be in space, simply because it's quiet and that's kind of it, because it's quiet. I like the idea of sitting in a I was in a church the other day before anybody got there. We were like meeting somebody for an event, and while we were sitting in the church, it was dead silence. And I lean over to my partner. I'm like, this silence is so comforting to me. Like, I don't like churches exactly, and I don't go to church. But much like a library, there's something about the space that is just so dampened. I mean, libraries make a little bit more sense. They're carpeted. There's a lot of books to suppress the sound, and all that shit. But it still kind of is the same deal. Isolation and quiet. Not needing to worry about talking loudly to others or being talked to, because you're just in a ship. But that's kind of Dark Star. It's not an amazing film, but I think for anybody who likes John Carpenter or Alien, it's probably worth giving a watch, because you can see the similarities between this and Alien. You can see the thought process of how he got from 2001: A Space Odyssey to Alien. You get to see his little beach ball alien friends, which, like I said, I thought they were going to be like a prime subject of the film, but they're actually kind of just a side character. The only time they actually do something is when one of them like bites through a wire, and it adds a task to the task list for the player character. And yeah, it's not a great film, but it's totally worth watching. Also, during the opening credit sequence, I saw that one of the characters was reading a magazine, and it has the Fallout font on the magazine. Yeah, it doesn't say Fallout, it says like falling, but it's in the Fallout font, and I think that's very cool. Next, I'm going to be talking about El Mariachi, another first film, another directorial debut, this time from Robert Rodriguez, a man who I am accidentally a huge fan of. Who is Robert Rodriguez, you might be asking? He apparently almost exclusively influenced the mid-2000s filmmaking style. On top of that, he kind of released almost every film that I thoroughly enjoyed in theaters as a kid. Primarily the Spy Kids trilogy, Machete, and Shark Boy and Lava Girl. The good shit. If you needed a 3D movie, you needed Robert Rodriguez. But I've been listening to, now I've heard at least 3 podcasts, probably more, and more people than those 3 podcasts all talk very highly of Robert Rodriguez, and all talk about how disappointed in how his career developed. I don't fully understand what that means exactly, because like I just said, I like a lot of his later films. So I'm probably not the right person to be talking about this, but everybody, not everybody, but the podcasters I was listening to, from Cameron from Rain's Touch says it. Both hosts of Sick on Cinema talk about it, and it even, I'm pretty sure in Show Me Something Wrong they talk about it too. They'll bring up Robert Rodriguez. They'll say, "Oh my God, El Mariachi is just such a good film. Like, it's like inspirational for DIY, like micro, no budget filmmakers." It shows you that if you make a movie with only the things you have, you can do it, and it will look good. And then they all end up complaining about the later movies, which I'm guessing is because it's all rapid cuts, shaky cams, one-liner action like close-ups, and the 3D trend and overuse of CG, which I think is a huge thing, because the mid-2000s was kind of a problem with overusing CG. But the film is great. El Mariachi, I get it. I really liked it. It was a so it was an all Spanish film, right? I think it was filmed in Texas on, was it 8mm or 16mm? It was like, it's as cheap as it can be made, and I'm pretty sure the internet claims the budget to be only about $7,000. That's probably before distribution, realistically, because assuming somebody saw it, right? You made this with $7,000, and then they put it out, and it made, again, going off internet numbers, it supposedly grossed about $5 million in 20 years ago money, which is really annoying that Google had to do that. They're like, yeah, it made $5.5 million, $10 million in today's money. Like, what do you fucking do, dude? Yeah, our money isn't worth as much. Thank you, Google. Like, that doesn't put anything in comparison. The $7,000 to the $5.5 million budget, or to the $5.5 million box office hit, like, that's significant. But saying, like, yeah, money's value is half as what it used to be. Like, we don't need that. Thank you. But what the hell is El Mariachi? Because, like I said, it's a micro or a no budget film. I don't know what the... See, that's just it. Is no budget films still technically have a budget, right? Like, so I don't really know where the line is between no budget, low budget, micro budget. Like, those are all words that are kind of just like subgenres of the same thing, and as long as it's not a AAA film or a mid-budget film, like, it's low budget or lower. It's one of those. And this is one of the lowest of the lows, genuinely. Like, I don't think I've ever seen a film, except maybe, actually, Alex, is his name Alex Cox, the guy who did Repo Man. I'm pretty sure Repo Chick, that he made in 2009, he made for like $9,000. Let me do a quick Google on that. Repo Chick, 2009, budget. Okay, no, this is under 200,000. Okay, no, I had a friend that was like, yeah, Monty Python was made for under $250,000. So I dare someone to find a movie that's made under $200,000 and that was the one. But no, still a way higher budget than El Mariachi, so that doesn't even count. I do love Repo Chick, by the way. It's one of the best movies ever made. El Mariachi is, it's a film about a mariachi, a musician that is traveling from town to town looking for consistent work. He goes to every bar in every town that he goes to and says, hey, I'm looking for a job. I'm a mariachi. I'm really good. And people just keep saying no to him. People don't want to hire him. He's just a single guy. Either they can't afford him, or he is just not interesting enough to them. There's a really interesting scene where the mariachi is talking to a bartender, and he's asking for a job, and he goes, "Why would I hire one mariachi when I have an entire band?" And he gestures over to a guy with a keyboard, and I think that's really funny because a keyboard from 1992 counting as a band is really funny. But so yeah, he's jostling around. He's doing his thing. He's living his life. And there's this other fella named Azul, who is a badass. Azul is a fucking killer. He worked for some gangster dude, basically like a Scarface boss, like the guy that lives in Cuba in Scarface. Basically that character. He wears all white. He's always smoking and drinking and talking on the phone, and just like he's in the film only because if you didn't show him, I don't know, but he's a very basic character. And Azul is like, "Hey, you owe me money, and if you don't give me that money, I'm going to kill you." And then the guy goes, "Ha ha, I'm not giving you that money, you idiot." And so Mariachi, no, not Mariachi, Azul sets out to murder this man, while also being hunted down by that man's henchmen. The description that they're given is that the man they're looking for, Azul, his name is Azul. They go into the same town that the mariachi is. You can see where this is going, right? They're going to the same town that the mariachi is currently at, and the guy tells one of the townspeople, like, "Hey, if a man in all black carrying a guitar case named Azul comes by, call us over because we want him dead, or we're gonna take him, or whatever." And then almost immediately after, our mariachi, I don't think he ever gets a name. I think he's just called the mariachi, El Mariachi. He pulls up to the hotel and is like, "Hey, can I get a room? I don't have money right now. I could pay you tomorrow." And guess what he's doing? He's carrying a guitar case and he's wearing all black. The hotel manager didn't ask what his name was, so he's like, "Oh, that must be the guy they're looking for." Calls him up. And now there's a bunch of Mexican gangsters hunting down this innocent mariachi because he's wearing black clothes and carries a guitar case. Something I didn't mention yet, Azul carries that guitar case around as well. He has his own guitar case, except his are filled with guns. So, like, that's how you know whose case is what, is one has a bunch of guns and the other is just a fucking guitar. And, that has some, like, jokes in it of itself. So, yeah, I mean, that's really most of the film. Is just they mistake the mariachi for Azul, and through all the shit that the mariachi has to go through to not die, he ends up becoming a badass himself, and tragically loses his ability to play guitar, which is actually a really, really cool character moment for him, because up until that point he quite literally was just a man who knew how to play a guitar. And that was kind of like, I have nothing left to lose now. You took away the only thing that I care about, kind of thing. And that's a really, like, it's not sold in such an emotional way, but it's a really good character development bit. It's good. I liked it. The one thing, so, like, there's a lot more fake guns than I thought there'd be for a film that I've been told only involves a turtle, a guitar case, and a bus. which it does. Those are the main components of the film, but what am I talking about? I don't even know. Mariachi. The Mariachi loses his ability to play guitar. Violence ensues. Yeah. And by the end of the film, the Mariachi's a fucking badass. And it's a shame he didn't get to keep his guitar playing hand. That's kind of it for El Mariachi. It's a really good film. Oh, I was talking about how like there's so many guns, and when the three, like I said, there's 3 podcasts I listen to that specifically talk about how great the low budgetness of this film is. I didn't realize that there was also so many fake guns, and maybe so many is a bad way to put it. Maybe there's just one of every gun that they see in the film, and it cuts back and forth between them, so it's the same prop, and it's just movie magic together. I totally believe that, but there are way more guns than I thought there'd be, and not because I didn't want guns, but because I assumed it wasn't going to have any, just because of the low budgetness. Because how much does a fake gun cost? But that's El Mariachi. It's a Spanish film directed by Robert Rodriguez. It's his directorial debut. It's funny. It's well written. It's paced a little harsh because it's not even that long, right? It's only like 84 minutes. It's 82 minutes, 80 minutes long. But for some reason, there's a point where it just feels like it's dragging a bit. Like a lot of films, you know, that middle second act is always tough. And sometimes transitioning into the final act is tough. Not that this film did that. But that's going to be me wrapping up El Mariachi. And I'm talking about one more film because I was able to get all that done within an hour. And that's awesome. Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ. I'm tired. So, my final film I'm going to talk about is a Darren Lynn Bousman film. Who's Darren Lynn Bousman, you might be asking? Well, that's a dumb question, because that's the man who directed Saw 2, 3, and 4. Some of my favorite movies ever. Some of the most rewatchable movies of my experience. He may not be what people would call a good director, but I've always had a really soft spot for him when it came to his films. And you know, it's not like a sympathy soft spot. It's more like kind of the way I think about Abel Ferrara films. It's kind of just, I almost just resonate with them in a way that, like, I understand people don't like these things, but that does not take away from the fact that I like them. And I won't let someone's opinion of these people skew my thoughts. Yeah, I'm a fan of the Saw films. I'm a fan of Repo the Genetic Opera, which was just re-released in theater, and I'm waiting for the 4K Steelbook pre-order to come out. Even though it's probably going to be through Amazon, I'm going to end up getting it dented. Christ, maybe I should order 2 at a time, like that one person does, and then sell it. I'm not going to sell it. That's shitty. I'll just return it. I need to make sure I get that Repo 4K, though, especially if there's a steelbook of it, because there might be a lot of stuff going on in there. So, what film did I watch? I didn't watch the Saw films. I did watch Repo the Genetic Opera, but that's not what I'm talking about. That's probably getting its own episode, maybe, if I can ever stomach. Maybe I'll bring in Melissa and We'll have a long ass conversation about Repo. Maybe I'll bring in, and we'll see. We'll see. That could be a thing though. That sounds fun. Why not talk about Repo with a couple of people who like to talk about Repo? Anyway, I watched Darren Lynn Bousman's 2016 film Abattoir, a film that has really piqued my interest since I started watching his podcast on YouTube, which is like in a weird hiatus right now. Everyone's making movies. It's weird listening to podcasts made by filmmakers because when they're making films, they don't really have time to do anything else. So like you're just really hoping like maybe he won't have a job next year and he can spend the next year making podcasts. But that's not what I wish for them as well, because I like these directors. I really, really like them. Not even Darren Lynn Bousman, Josh Stolberg, and Dave. Wow, what the fuck is his last name? Dave Jackson. Christ, man. And you know, if I could find guys' films, I would probably watch them too. But other than ordering them physically, it's weirdly hard to find them. And that's an excuse because that's how I watch Cat Sick Blues, is physically. So clearly I just need to make the effort to go buy it. Anyway, I watched Abattoir. It's a film that is, according to Darren Lynn Bow... Actually, I don't remember what his opinion on it was. He described the film, and I was like, this sounds fucking awesome. But the thing is, he hates his own films, or maybe he doesn't hate his own films, but he's very self-depreciative about his career. And you know, some people would say rightfully so. I think not. I loved his short Zombie. I think it was really heavy and well-intentioned and very relevant for a man whose first directorial film was Saw 2. Right, like, anyway, I'm not going to get into that. But Darren Lynn Bousman has a lot of respect for me, and it all kind of started with Saw 4, actually. Saw 4 was the first film, I'm pretty sure, that I watched a director's commentary for. And even before then, I'm pretty sure before I even watched all the Saw films and I was doing the YouTube gauntlet of, like, every Saw trap, best Saw trap. And I came across the behind-the-scenes clips from the making of Saw 2 that you see on the Saw 2 Blu-ray, where it's young Bousman going like, yeah, this and that, and we made this choice, and he's describing like how the reverse Venus fly the Venus flytrap is, you know, it has like drop-away nails and it's a fully functional trap, and talking about just really cool shit, and it really. I can't say he's the first. I struggle to find any reason not to say that he is the first person to ever make me consider like how cool it must be to make a movie. And it may just be because it was the first time I listened to a commentary. It was the first time I watched a film and went, you know what, I'm going to watch it again with commentary. And I fell in love with it. And I picked up on like Bousman's transition style, and this is turning into a Bousman a dick sucking. So I'm gonna move on. I watched Abattoir. He doesn't think it's very good, probably. Like he says to most of his films. I think the only one he ever is like truly ever proud of is Repo, and the Saw films, obviously. But Abattoir is really interesting. So I couldn't understand it when he was describing it verbally, but now that when I was watching, I'm like, oh, it's actually way cooler than I thought it was, because not many films focus on realty, and a lot of, well, I shouldn't say a lot of film, but like films or houses with murders and deaths in them, you know, it's a very significant bit of information when someone's buying a house, is to know if someone got murdered in there. I don't understand the technicalities of when you can and don't have to divulge in that information. It's not the point. But this film is basically every time a horrible act of violence happens in this town, a man comes in, buys the house, dismantles the room that the murder or death happened in, and then resells the house at a massive loss. And the whole film is this man collecting rooms where people died. He's taking these parts of rooms and building a house out of it. And I think that's just fucking awesome. The idea of just like imagine walking through that house. Not even for the novelty of like in this room a child was decapitated, and in this room not even that, but just walking through it like an art gallery. And maybe this is the son of an architect talking, but I really appreciate the idea of like constant shifting architectural styles. And it kind of shows with the external shot where it's a bunch of like suburban houses stacked on top of each other, and it doesn't like, it looks like a CG effect, but it's also just a cool concept. The interior is really where the most interesting stuff happens, though, because like there are so many different things that a room could be, you know, between the types of flooring, the types of wallpaper / painting, the types of ceilings, the things that are in the room, and like the trimmings, like everything in a room is going to be almost entirely different from house to house. Maybe if you're living in one of those like mass-produced suburb areas, it's not going to be. It's just going to vary in color at most. But what is it? It's just such a great idea. The problem is, and you know, spoiler alert, the film isn't that great. The film doesn't show it that much. Like I get the whole idea of like save the big bad for the end, because that's what you have to do. But this is a film about a man stealing rooms for his haunted house. He's trying to make like the ultimate haunted house of to like open a portal to hell. I saw someone say that it's like a prequel to The Devil's Carnival, Alleluia, which is interesting. A spiritual prequel. And it's funny because my partner actually said that the film felt like that, and then and I'm like, yeah, that's made by the same guy. What is it? So he collects these rooms. He builds a really interesting idea, but you don't see it very often. And you got to save the beastie for last. You got to save the horror, big reveal, the monster for last. So like you're not going to see it for the last like few minutes, but it's not enough. Like the film it starts off strong because it has like this opening monologue from the owner of the house saying like it's a really cool line. Let me see. I think I wrote it as my quote. No, better living in sin and sacrifice. No, there's a part in the film right at the very beginning where he says like we construct our heaven, but we yeah, it's just like it's a heaven and hell reference, and it's saying, I don't even know what it's trying to say, but it's a really cool line saying like we build our heaven so that we can live in our hell, or something like that. We can furnish our rooms in hell, or yeah, it's a cool line. And then it goes into a realty film, which you don't see often, is like the main focus being realty, of this woman going like, I think she's actually just an investigative journalist, and she's trying to break a story, but every time she goes to investigate one of the horrible stories that she's writing about. The room that the event happened in is like taken out, and she's like, the fuck is going on? So she makes it her life mission to figure out what's going on. And it's cool. Like it starts off really strong, and I think a big part of that is the way Saw 7 kind of works. Or no, even the first Saw kind of does it too. I'm saying Saw a lot because I think it's an easy way to relate ideas that Bousman has by bringing up Saw. But he they do a similar thing in this film where they have like a small montage of all the deaths that happened in town recently. And you get to see it, you get to see the room, you get to see the dismantled room afterwards. And it's a really cool idea, except it happens so quickly that you don't really get to see anything cool until the end of the film. So you're basically looking at like 20-30 minutes of really good film, and then a lot of meandering and relationship building with meh characters. I don't even remember the actors in it. Jessica Lowndes, she was good. Now that I'm thinking about it, Joe Anderson and Jessica Lowndes were very good. But let's finish off talking about them. Jessica Lowndes is basically playing, and again, this has to be intentional because there's no way it's not. She's basically playing Audrey from Twin Peaks in you know, not in a bad way, in a good way. Like it's Darren Lynn Bousman or whoever told her to act that way is saying like here's your, like, her wardrobe specifically is basically Audrey to a T. But then they just like they have this woman kind of have similar mannerisms and like the way she talks and how she, like, her whole existence in the film is basically Audrey in season 2 of Twin Peaks. It's just maybe even season 1 because it's a woman not being taken seriously, and but I'm not going to get to that. But she's basically Audrey, and it's a good thing. I wish it wasn't so obvious, but I like it. It's not like it's a bad ripoff or anything. And Joe Anderson, dude, like, if it wasn't for those two, the film is borderline unwatchable because, like I said, the beginning and end are solid, but everything in the middle sucks, except when Joe Anderson and Jessica Lowndes are on screen together. Because they have maybe not great chemistry, but they're great actors. They're a great performance. They have great performances. And I think Joe Anderson, being that, I'm assuming he has stage play experience because the only thing I know him in prior to this is Across the Universe. And he is one of my favorite characters in that film too, because he's very different from his character in this film, but it's more or less just the way he acts and the way he gets into his character is very genuine feeling. And I think a lot of it has to do with his stage play, or presumably stage play experience, because he's very good at emoting and having a presence that isn't just like a man talking, because he plays a cop. You know, how many times are cops good characters in films? And Joe Anderson does very well with it. Unfortunately, the plots kind of fall apart as the film gets cooler. Like I said, it's not a great film, but I enjoyed it. It's something I will eventually own physically. Not necessarily because it's so good I have to own it, but because it's good enough to where I'm willing to own it, and I want to own as many Bousman films as possible. Imagine if I had a physical copy of Mother's Day. That'd be sick. Yeah, that's Abattoir. It's a really good film. It's not a good film. It's a really See, look at that, contradicting myself. I'm just talking. I'm talking, letting my words come out as I speak and think, and here I am. Hello. But it has good stuff in it. It's a really enjoyable experience at points. But it is a slog. And if the reaction my partner gave was any condolence to, or any sign, they fucking hated it. To the point where they just started cyberbullying Darren Lynn Bousman on Instagram. Which I told them, maybe it's not the best to do, but they're doing it. It's fun, I guess. Anythingbutted@gmail.com if you want to reach out. It's a thing you can do. I'm a person that exists. I have thoughts and opinions or whatever. I don't really know why I say it like that, but that's what I've been doing. I have thoughts and opinions, and I exist, and that's basically the limits of this podcast. As of recently, I barely have my phone on me. It's just kind of sitting there recording. I do have Letterboxd open, but barely touching it. Anythingbutted@gmail.com. You can reach out. You can tell me how bad I am. You can tell me, thoughts and opinions or whatever of your own. Because, just like Letterboxd, I love an individual take. I love when, maybe not even love a hot take, but I just love a very genuine personal take. Because I only have one side of context. I exist as I am. And, sometimes I can try and skew my perspective a little bit, but it's never going to be 100% genuine if I do that. And that's why I follow people with very varying opinions on things, and I like to see the extremes on stuff. And there's definitely people out there who have crazy ass opinions, like Repo Chick being one of the best movies ever made, which is true. There's no way you can prove me otherwise, because I think that. You might not ever, but I do, and therefore it's true. That's kind of all you need. All you need is you. So, anythingbutted@gmail.com if you want to tell me about you. And, this could be a podcast about us or whatever. I don't know. I haven't gone to the library. I just finished reading Titus Andronicus. I should post a picture on Instagram about it, because I forgot to post a picture of my women writers book that I finished reading. And I just started reading The Art of Alfred Hitchcock, the Centennial edition, which is apparently revised from its original printing. So it reads very nicely. I like how it's written, and that's going to be probably motivating me to watch more Hitchcock, because that's usually what happens. It's whatever I read or immerse myself in is usually what I end up fully immersing myself into, because I have no self-control. So anythingbutted@gmail.com, and god damn it, why did I do that? You have been listening to Taste Like Tea, a podcast about me. He am I am he am me. Goodbye.